The best way for me to improve my lighting skills is to practice with natural light. In this case, I filmed a scene in my kitchen where I just focused on shaping the light, so I didn't add any light, but rather shadows. Working with additional lights can open up a lot of possibilities, but can also be overwhelming very quickly. That's why I usually start with natural light and only add something when I know exactly where it's needed. The light comes from the left side through 2 kitchen windows. I started shooting at around 2 p.m. and it was pretty sunny outside, so I had more than enough light in the kitchen. I was filming with my 60mm again, which is roughly 24 equivalent on full frame. And still, the angle wasn't really wide enough for me when I placed the tripod with the camera on the kitchen counter. So I just put my camera on the cupboard next to the glasses and left the door open. This not only gives me a wider angle, but also an interesting composition. An additional advantage is that the open door covers the window. The difference in light between the darker kitchen and the bright outside would be way too harsh. My camera just doesn't have enough dynamic range. But now I have enough exposure in the room without blowing the highlights. This perspective also gives us a lot of depth in the image, since I'm filming across the entire kitchen. To get enough shadow on my face, I used this reflector. I just got it on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. But you can also simply use a black piece of cardboard or thick fabric. I just put it in front of one of the windows to block the light shining on my left face. When I take the reflector away, you can see how much light has actually been taken away. When I adjust the aperture again, the shot looks like this. In direct comparison, you notice that the brightness in the room hasn't really changed much, but the shadows in my face make the right image look more appealing to me. But that is always personal preference. I find the left image to be okay from an exposure standpoint as well, but I wanted to make it a little darker with more contrast. So it's good to know that you can change the overall mood of the image with a few simple adjustments. So if you don't have lots of lights and want to work with natural light, you can achieve a lot just by shaping, blocking and reducing the light in certain areas. In the last few weeks, some people have asked me if I can make a video where I talk specifically about my S-Log or camera settings. The honest answer is that I don't use any special settings. I shoot almost exclusively in 4K, because the Full HD resolution of my 8-bit camera doesn't really look good in my opinion, and I never actually use slow motion. Also, I shoot in the default picture profile 7, which is S-Log 2 on Sony cameras. And most of the time I overexpose between 1.3 and 2 stops, which gives me enough room for color grading later on. Although the proper use of picture profile is important to understand, in most cases I prefer to focus on improving myself in the area of lighting, storytelling or composition first. When shooting with enough light, I find that I can push the colors of my 8-bit camera quite far. In this case, I wanted a relatively natural look with a little push towards blue. But oftentimes I pull the gain down quite drastically to create a dark, moody and more stylized look. But this decision should always be based on what fits your story best. At the end, I would like to mention that I had an interesting idea for the future content on this channel. I don't only want to show my own progress and ideas in cinematography, but I want to include you guys as well. So it would be really interesting to have a community challenge every month so we can improve together. The challenges could be film a night scene with only one light, or it could be a specific place where you have to film a scene. So if you would like to see this format and have an interesting idea what the first challenge could look like, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to include it in the next videos. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I guess we'll see you next time.